How familiar, Dad, are you with the with downtown Charleston as far as like the streets and everything?
Yeah, pretty familiar. Lee Street runs that way, Fourier runs this way, and Washington runs this way until you get back up near the Capitol, and then it becomes a two-way street.
Yeah, did you ever work downtown?
Yes, I did. After we got married, I worked for a brother. He had a hearing aid shop.
What street was that on?
Between, what was it, the arcade upstairs, what was that called? Remember? It was between Lee and Fourier.
Sorry about that. There we go.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
It was on the second floor, and there was a lot of businesses in there. There were two brothers on the second floor. There was a brother who sold hearing aids, and then there was a jeweler, so the Russell Hall. Yeah. All these.
How long did you work there?
We got ready to go to Gilead. Made $60 a month.
And
I got paid once a month.
how long did you work at the real estate office?
About 3 years.
And what did you do there?
I was the secretary and then later worked as a bookkeeper.
All right, so we just got done breakfast at Tudor's Biscuit World. Mom, every time we come to West Virginia, we always come to Tudor's Biscuit World. So tell us what your fascination is with Tudor's.
Well, my memory of it was better than our experience today. Like everything else, it's sort of curious, but it was okay. We had a good breakfast.
They originally had very good breakfasts and very good sandwiches, especially hot dog. But they sort of deteriorated, as Mother said.
Just like everything else in Charleston, huh?
Right,
Exactly. Charleston is not as we remember it.
Okay, so we're here on Chestnut Street in South Charleston, my mom's hometown, and we're here in front of Spring Hill Pastry Shop, which is very sentimental and nostalgic for my mom. Mom, you want to tell us about why Spring Hill Bakery is so special to you?
Well, it's not just special to me, it's special to many people. But the elementary school I went to was just across the street there. It's not there anymore. So we often came to lunch here, just across the street. There was another little sandwich shop, but the bakery was the big attraction. And they made hot bread every morning, and so for about 15 cents we could buy a loaf of bread, and that was often our lunch. But they make delicious pastries still to this day, and many people come from far away to get their goods, their products. They make delicious cakes.
So how far, so the school is right across the street, that was an elementary school?
Yes.
And how far was it a walk home?
It was about a mile. There was no school bus for us then. We walked.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad walk.
Okay. And every day you would come to the Spring Hill Bakery?
Just about every day.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna go into Spring Hill Bakery now and see if they have this famous bread that my mom ate every day. All right.
Can't wait.
Receipt for yours, and you have
It just came out from the Just came out.
Yeah, but we can slice that one. Can I help you
I
snack?
need to slice it.
two holds on the phone, so they want to get them.
Put it on, guys.
Okay.
So they got the bread?
No, it'll be out about probably 1
Just
o'clock.
came out of the oven.
Not even sliced.
No, I told her not to slice it. We never slice it. We just
Ma'am, are you waiting on?
Okay, so we're here in front of Bridgeview Elementary Center. So tell us, Mom, this wasn't always an elementary school.
No, it was built back in the 50s. I went here the first year of junior high. I came to the school. It just opened. And as you can see behind me, there's a no smoking sign and no drug sign. In those days, those signs weren't necessary because no one smoked and no one did drugs. It was certainly a different time, and I have good memories at this school. It was a very good quality education here.
And so how far of a walk was it from here to that Spring Hill Bakery where we just were?
I don't recall walking it then because when I walked across the street, the school was just across the street.
Oh, okay. So the school that you went to the bakery from was not this school?
Right.
Okay.
This was junior high, and we did get to ride a bus to the school.
Oh, okay.
Didn't have to walk.
All right. So when you went to the Spring Hill Bakery, that was from elementary school?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. And you said that your mom gave you how much allowance a week that you spent at that bakery?
She gave us 25 cents a week, and that was a lot of money in those days, so I hardly knew where to start spending. Because for a nickel, you could get a candy bar. So, and for 25 cents, if you wanted, you can eat lunch.
Yeah. Okay, so we're here at the first house you lived in South Charleston. How old were you when you lived here?
That's from the time I was born until junior high, till I went into the 7th grade. We lived here.
Okay.
And it was much different then. It was just a very small house that my mother and father built when they got married. It only had 3 rooms, a kitchen and 2 bedrooms, and I spent most of the time outside playing after I got old enough. The hill there is a nice tree. Down there and spent the summer playing around and looking for wildlife and whatever. But this was it. Very simple upbringing. The person that bought it after us, that what you see in the front there was a store. He put in a little convenience store because there was nothing in the area then at all. To buy a loaf of bread, you had to go a long way. So I'm sure he did very well with that little store.
So we're still on Chestnut Street here, but just outside of South Charleston. And Mom, this house behind you, which obviously has been remodeled and doesn't look the same as when you lived here. You lived in 3 different houses here in South Charleston.
This was the second one.
The second one?
We built it, we had it built and moved into it about 1954, 1955. I was in middle school. And the house on my left also was a brother and sister built the house. And then the third house, we'll see in a minute, is on past here a little ways. But this house was really a big deal because it was brand new and 3 bedrooms, and we had our own bedroom, and it was really a step up.
And so you and your 2 other sisters and Grandma Jenny all lived here?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Martha lived here.
Martha was here
Martha
too?
was here too, yes.
Oh, okay.
The
All
whole
right.
family lived here.
And your dad?
He was here some of the time. He wasn't there all the time.
Okay. All right, so on to the next house. Okay, so we're here on looking at the back of the third house you lived here in South Charleston. And so what happened between when you moved from the second house to this house? It wasn't a direct move from there to here?
No, it was not direct. We moved to Florida for a year. And we sold, when we moved to Florida, we sold the second house. And then when we came back, my grandparents lived in this house. It has an upstairs and a downstairs, 2 living quarters. And so we moved into this house when we came back to Florida. And we lived here until we left the area.
Okay. And it was Grandma Jenny, Martha, Susie, you, and your grandparents?
Yes.
Okay.
My older sister was married while we were living here.
Okay. And how old was she when she got married?
She wasn't even 16 yet.
And your grandparents, their last name was the Ramseys,
Yes.
and they were among the first in this area to start preaching.
Oh, yes. Actually, their first house here had burned down, and so they built the second one. And that's where we started studying. Actually, it was in this second house. We would come over, and the brother would come to their house and study, and we'd come over because it was within walking distance. And then when they retired, they moved to area to serve where the need is great. And that's where they stayed until they died, and that was over near Mike's house in Seth, West Virginia.
Now, were they originally from West Virginia?
Yes,
Okay, but
but not from this county. They were from another county called Nicholas County.
so they moved here to Boone County to serve. Well, this isn't Boone County.
This is Kanawha County.
They moved here to serve where the need was great.
Well, no, they were still working when they lived here. But when they left here, they went to serve where the need is great.
Oh, okay.
In Boone County.
In Boone County. Okay. Okay, so we're here in Dunbar City, which is just on the other side of the Kanawha River from South Charleston. And tell us, which congregation are we standing in front of here? Which Kingdom Hall?
Dunbar Congregation, that was what it was called. It wasn't at this location, it was over on the river. Very small congregation. But I went here from all the time that I was in the area. We attended this congregation until I moved away and later got married.
So you were how old when you first started attending Dunbar Congregation?
About 11 or 12 years old.
Yeah. All the way up until you got married. And then you switched to Seth Congregation, okay, which we'll be going to later. But this is not the original Dunbar Kingdom Hall. This is obviously a much newer Kingdom Hall. So, all right. Okay, so we were driving down Route 25 of Dunbar City looking for the old Kingdom Hall where Mom used to go, and we found it, which is looks like it's some sort of union hall now. And Dad, you didn't attend this congregation, but you had been here to this Kingdom Hall.
I've been here 2 or 3 times to give public talks.
Okay. All right. And so I don't know what else to say about this building.
Apparently it became not appropriate for the use of the congregation, so they sold it and built the new hall over where we just were.
Okay. All right. It's even more overgrown than the last time we were here.
Yeah, it is. My grandmother's house was over here. Let me walk over here and see. It was a big house, a big 2-story house, and it was probably the biggest house and nicest house up on this hill.
So how many houses were up on this hill?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 houses up in this area.
And who owned these
About
houses?
8 houses. It was owned by a coal company. A coal company that used to work in this area. They provided the houses for their employees. And
So all the years that you lived here, you didn't have to pay
didn't have to pay any rent.
Okay.
It was free.
So now the well would have sat
Well,
where?
no, this is my grandmother's house.
Oh, your
This is where-
grandmother.
This is my grandmother's house. They had a well, and the well would have been right over, just over past this telephone pole here somewhere.
Yeah. That telephone pole looks like it's been burnt.
It was what?
Charred, yeah.
Yeah, really. Well, they burnt this house down. I mean, they wanted to get rid of all the old houses up here,
Yeah.
so they just burned them down. Now we'll go on up here and go
Okay.
to where our house was.
Okay. Well, it looks like at least this path we're walking on here has been mowed at some point
Yeah.
relatively recently.
Yeah. What is that?
It's like some sort of wire that's down. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes up across.
Tied onto that tree or something.
Yeah, looks like that pole. They cut that pole down
Yeah.
over there.
Cobwebs. This road here comes up from where we, down at the bottom of the hill, through past my grandmother's house. But the road we always used was right over here. So when we were coming, we would drive up this road, drive up to this pathway here, and our house set right up there. It's you really can't see where it was right now. It's all grown up, and there's too much brush for me to walk in there.
So that road straight ahead, where does that lead?
Goes right on up into what we call a holler, and it was, as I said, past our house. There was 1, 2, 3, 4 houses beyond that, and I guess this road is still navigable. You can still,
Yeah, if you had a Jeep.
if you had a Jeep, yeah, but not in our van. Let's walk on up here a little ways and see if we can see anything. Our house would have been sitting right up there. Wonder if I can get up there.
Careful, Dad. Careful. Please be careful. Remember, it's easier to go up than come down.
Yeah. right along here somewhere, there was a well that was in our front yard, and it had the best water you could ever taste. Really, really sweet and clean and pure. And but it would during the summer months when there was no rain, it sometimes would get to the point we had no water there, so we had to carry it from another place.
So if the well was somewhere in this area,
Somewhere in this area, yeah.
then the house would have been
House had been up in this area. Yeah.
about where I'm standing.
Yeah. It was just a basic one-bedroom house. Later on, we enclosed the porch and made 2 more bedrooms, and enough for our family. But it was a very simple house, very for where poor people lived. But
No plumbing, no indoor plumbing. At least not
up
for a
until
while.
up until the time I left home, there was no indoor plumbing. We had a toilet outside, and if we wanted water, we went to the well and drew it and then carried it inside the house. So it was a very almost primitive way of living, but it was our life, and we enjoyed it.
And the outhouse was behind the house.
Outhouse would have been up there, about 50 feet that way.
Yeah.
So this is where I grew up. And
So now, when you lived in this house, how old were you when Peggy and her sister moved in?
I would say I was about 7 or 8 years old. Yeah.
And that was because their mother died?
My oldest sister died of a heart attack when she was about 25 or 26 years old. By that time, she already had 3 children, and all 3 were girls. And my mother adopted 2 of the oldest girls, and then the paternal grandmother adopted the youngest daughter. And they still keep in touch with each other to this day, and they're still very close relationship. Of course, the oldest daughter, my oldest niece, she passed away some years ago.
And
But
I forget her name.
Gail
Gail,
was
that's
her name, and Peggy is the middle daughter, and Cindy was the youngest daughter.
And we'll see Peggy tomorrow and her husband when we go and see James.
Yes, and Cindy will be with them also.
Okay.
She'll be there too. So
And Cindy is her younger sister.
yes,
Okay.
yes. So
Now Cindy didn't come and live with you guys though.
no,
went-
she lived with her paternal grandmother,
Yeah.
and so we were never as close to her as we were with Peggy and Gail. Peggy and Gail were just like my sisters,
Right.
being raised with us. So that's very
So
interesting.
were they still living with Grandma Myrtle when you left home?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Well, I think Peggy had probably already graduated from high school and had gone out in the workforce, and Gail had. Well, both of them had left already. You know, by the time I got married and left, and Gail lived in Ohio, up in Cleveland for a while, and then later in Marietta, and Peggy lived in Charleston and got married in Charleston, and then she moved to Arkansas, then back to Marietta, Ohio, and then later on down to Florida where she lives now. But yeah, brings back a lot of memories here.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look anything like it did when I lived here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I think I came up here 2 or 3 times. No, more than that. Probably 4 or 5 times, including after we moved back to the States, and all this was completely open.
Yeah. Mom has been gone. She lived in Ohio for
98 or
quite a
99?
90. Yeah. So it's a matter of 20 years. This is what happens. It just grow up, and new trees and new shrubbery and all that and undergrowth, and it just is unrecognizable.
All right, Dad. Please be careful going back down.
I will. Our front porch would have been right about here, and the house extended out that way and then back toward the back here. But all of this used to be grass. I used to mow this every summer. So
And was your garden would have been behind the house or in front?
Our garden would have been over in there in that area, to my left, and sort of on that hillside there.
Okay. Now, did you know everybody that lived
Oh yeah.
on this hill?
Most of them were Mom's relatives.
Okay.
Grandma Myrtle's relatives. This house here, the one next to us where we live, was my mother's brother, Baron. And then on up 2 more houses was my mother's brother, Brooke. And then the ones between us there, they weren't relatives, but we knew them well, went to school with their kids. And
Where did Keith live?
at the old home place over there as we came up the hill.
Okay.
The big house, Grandma's
Okay.
house.
All right.
Yeah,
That was Grandma Myrtle's brother?
brother, the youngest brother.
Youngest brother.
Absolutely the youngest brother. And he had lived upstairs for many, many years. Then after Grandma Kirk died, he took over the whole house and they lived there. So, yeah. Of course, both he and his wife have passed away since that time, so.
And this path here, straight ahead, where would that take us?
Well, this takes us right up to the head of Coal Holler. There was, as I said, 8 houses in this community. And on this side, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 houses on this side of the road. And then Grandma Kirk's house on the top of the knoll over there. And
And did everybody that lived on this hill, was the men all coal miners?
originally, but not in recent years. I don't know, if you live there, you just live there, and you were there forever, and paid no rent, and it was
Well, that shows you how profitable the coal mining companies were.
right. Now, this road curves around to the right here. In the wintertime, we would also sleigh ride down this hill. And I remember one time the school didn't have indoor plumbing. It had toilets outside.
Right.
There was a toilet sitting just about where the end of that building is there. So we would come here and go down that road straight, not curve around, go straight. And that's how I got this scar on my head. I ran into the toilet there, on the corner of the toilet.
Okay, so this building behind you, it used to be,
Used to be a schoolhouse, then it became a church, then it used to be a schoolhouse, then it became an auction place, and then it became a church. And now I guess they're tearing it down too. I don't know why. I went probably from grade 1 to grade 5 in this schoolhouse here.
and this was about a 3-minute walk from your house.
Yeah, two
Yeah.
minute, 3 minute walk, yeah.
So we're just at the bottom of the hill that we came down.
And
So what was it? Was it just called Petona Elementary?
called it Petona Elementary School. And I remember, let's see, there were 3 teachers. Grades 1 and 2 together, grades 3 and 4 together, and then grade 5 was by itself. And I remember Mrs. Javins, Mrs. Farrell, and I forget the other teacher's name, but she had a paddle this long and had holes drilled in it. If you didn't obey, you got spanking.
Yeah.
But really is brings back a lot of memories here, being here at this school. Then from grades 6 and 7 and 8 was at the building across this road there, which has now been turned into a church also. But that was a very new building, and we were so happy. It was really the latest thing here. It was a very nice structure, but now they've turned it into a church, and I don't know where, I guess the students here around here go to either Racine for public school or for elementary school, or to some other place. I'm really not sure. But
Okay.
this is where I'm from.
Okay, so we can't go quite all the way down to the beach here. This is Little Cole or Big Cole?
Big Coal River.
Yeah. And because the banks are pretty muddy and pretty easy to slip and fall. So we are about maybe a 10-minute walk from your house,
Yeah.
right?
About
So tell us about Petona Beach.
Well, when I was growing up, this was a very in-thing place. I mean, there was a lot going on. They had a dance floor here. They sold drinks and sandwiches, and it would be full of people. But now there's nobody here. In the summertime, when I was growing up, I mean, after school was out, we would spend most days here at the beach. It's called Petona Beach, and it was a very popular spot. People came all the way from Charleston and Madison over here to this beach because it was well kept, and it was really, really clean water and very pretty. So.
And what is that big concrete structure behind us there?
There was a bridge crossing the river here, going from, this is what's called White Oak Road, this road here where we're on, going over to Petona, and this bridge connected the two sides of the river. But now, I guess there's not enough tax base around here to maintain the bridge or to build a new one, so they just tore it down because it had become a hazard. It became dangerous.
Okay, so what house are we looking at here?
Well, the house here, this gray cement cinder block house, is the house where Margie's grandmother and grandfather bought when they moved over to serve where the need was great. And when we got married, the grandfather had already passed away. And so we moved in with Margie's grandmother and lived here and pioneered here for until we went to Gilead. And that was in 63 we got married, and then we went to Gilead in 65. So we lived here for 2 years.
And this was, how far was this from the Seth Kingdom Hall?
About 2 miles.
Okay. And then how long did Great Grandma Ramsey live here after you left?
Until around the 80s, the early 80s. I think she passed away in 87, but she wasn't living here. She already couldn't take care of herself, and she moved up to Baltimore with my mom. And my mom and aunt sort of took care of her up there until she passed away.
Okay, all right, Dad, so we're here, this is Fostersville?
Fostersville.
Which is just a couple miles from Seth.
Yes.
And this brick building behind you here, what are we looking at?
Well, this is the Kingdom Hall that was built. And later on, the congregation was dissolved, and this Kingdom Hall was sold to a private party, and they turned it into a house. But this is not, this is the last Kingdom Hall. This was built especially. But before that, there was a house sitting here, just right where those trees are. And we had a Kingdom Hall there for several years. And then later, as the congregation's need grew, there was a lot right next to the Kingdom Hall that we also owned. So we built a Kingdom Hall there.
Okay.
And
The original house, that's where we were married.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yeah.
been torn down now, but it was a
Okay.
Kingdom Hall.
So where those trees,
yeah, in this lot here, where those trees are now.
like to the left of where that grill is sitting.
Right, exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
All
So,
right. So that's where your wedding occurred, and then your reception was at some 4-H park now?
Forge Park in Comfort, West Virginia,
Okay.
which is about 5 miles from here.
Okay. Now, Uncle Ed and Aunt Garnet, where did they lived somewhere around here, right?
They lived in this direction, just right over there. I'll drive by there in a second.
Okay.
But it's turn left in this lane right here and go in, and it was the first or second house on the left.
Okay. All right. Okay, so Dad, we're looking at Uncle Ed and Aunt Garnet's house. Now, Uncle Ed is he my uncle or great uncle?
Your great uncle, I guess.
Okay, so how was he related to us?
He married my mother's sister,
Okay, so
Garnet.
Aunt Garnet was
My
Grandma
mother's-
Myrtle's younger sister,
older sister.
older sister. Okay, and this is where we gave one of our dogs, one of our Cocker Spaniels,
Yeah.
Samantha.
Samantha.
She
Sam.
she lived here for what, a couple years,
Yeah.
and gained about 40 pounds. And so when we came back and picked her up, yeah, she was obese.
beyond
Yeah.
belief.
Right, unbelievable. She was probably 3 times the weight
Yeah.
that when we dropped her off here. But I guess Garnet couldn't. Did Garnet pass and we came and got her, or that she just couldn't take care of her?
She was getting very feeble and couldn't care for her anymore.
Okay.
So we came and got her.
All right. And both Uncle Ed and Aunt Garnet, they were both baptized, right?
Yeah, they were both witnesses and active to varying degrees in different periods in their life.
Right. Okay. All right. So obviously, when they lived here, it wasn't gray siding,
It was white siding.
but it wasn't like vinyl siding, right?
No, it was asbestos.
Yeah. Yeah.